So you're thinking of moving to Salt Lake City, Utah. Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you the good and the bad, the pros and the cons about living in Salt Lake. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to share with you how you can live above the biggest con to living in Salt Lake, Utah. And we're going to get after it right now. If this is your first time to the channel, and if you'd like to know everything there is to know about living in Salt Lake City, Utah, then subscribe and click the bell for notifications. That way you can be the first to know about the current market in Salt Lake City, Utah. Hi, my name's Steve Gilbert. I'm with eXp Realty, and my team and I, we get calls every day from people just like you that are looking to make a move to Salt Lake City, Utah. And we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking to make a move in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text. All of our information is in the description below. That way we can help you make a smooth move to Salt Lake City, Utah. So as I mentioned in this video, we're going to be talking about the pros and the cons to living in Salt Lake City, Utah. So let's start with the pros. What's the biggest reason that somebody would want to live in Utah? Well, the friendly people is what I want to start with, because it's part of the culture here, part of the community where people take care of each other, they look out for each other. You know, if someone's got a flat tire on the side of the road, it's common to see someone else pulled over helping him out. And that's something that you'll find here in Utah. And it's interesting that Time and Leisure magazine ranked Salt Lake City as the #2 most friendly city in America. So after surveying a bunch of people that have traveled to different areas around the country, Salt Lake City was ranked #2. So that just goes to show you that there's friendly people, they're welcoming, you're still gonna have people wave to you as you drive down the road. It's just part of the culture here in the Salt Lake City area. The next pro I want to talk to about is the ease of travel and the location that Salt Lake is to like the airport. So, you know, if you're looking to travel from Salt Lake City to the airport, you're 9 minutes. Okay, that's a hop, skip, and a jump, right? To get from downtown to get to the international airport. So whether it's business, whether it's leisure, anytime that you need to fly, it's easy to get to the airport. Also, you're only 35 to 40 minutes away from heading up to Park City. So if you want to zip up the canyon, you know, take advantage of the Wasatch Mountains, it's a short drive up there as well. And then, you know, it's obviously located right there on I-15, so heading north or heading south. You've got lots of options for easy travel. I-80 is right there as well, whether you're heading east or west. Just a great location. Makes it convenient to get around. The other pro I want to talk to you about is the mild traffic. And you know, I guess all things are relative to where you live, but here in Utah, compared to other major cities, Utah doesn't have near the traffic that your big cities do. Obviously during rush hour, at the interchanges of I-15, I-215, as these different freeways and roadways interchange and intersect, there's going to be slowing, and that's natural. You know, I think most people expect that during the rush hour commuting time. But outside of that, you're not going to experience a whole lot of traffic. Now, as you head out to the west part of the valley, in Salt Lake Valley, into areas like West Jordan, South Jordan, that east-west traffic does get a little bit stickier. It gets a little bit more congested. But they've also done a lot of improvements with the Mountain View Corridor road system. They've improved Banger Highway so that it flows a lot better. And so those are north-south roadway systems. East-west, it still does get more congested, but it is improving. That's where the majority of the growth is in the Salt Lake Valley with the housing market. So it's just expected that as that continues to grow and develop, as more people move and live out there, that you will experience more traffic out there. But the great news is they are building the infrastructure and roadways to help reduce that as well. So, you know, I remember a friend of mine who used to live up in Seattle, and he would tell me that when he would drive home from his office that he would sit like 2 hours in traffic. You know, he would tell me like, man, I may as well just, you know, pull out the barbecue or, you know, right there on the interstate and start grilling hot dogs, because he's like, I'm going to be there a while. And unless there's a major accident that's on the freeway that's closing down multiple lanes, that's something that you just typically don't have to deal with here in Salt Lake, which is a great pro to living in this area. The next pro that I would like to discuss is the low unemployment that Utah has. So So currently we're at about 2.4%. We're one of the lowest unemployment areas in the nation. And so having strong job growth, strong unemployment, that all just adds to the local or the strength of the local economy here. That's something that Utah has always been known for. In fact, over about the last, I believe it's 15 years, Utah has been ranked as one of the best places for low unemployment. And so there's a lot of growth as far as businesses coming to Utah. Utah is known for Silicon Slopes, which is on the south end of Salt Lake County, the north end of Utah County. And there's big tech companies there, a lot of startup companies there. You've got companies like IM Flash Technologies, you've got Adobe, you've got the NSA the Utah Data Center. That's all right there. And so lots of opportunity for growth in the job sector. Lots of companies like to come to Utah. They like employing people from Utah. There's a lot of qualities that people from Utah bring. They have a higher level education, which we'll talk about later. But there's all these benefits that attract companies to Utah, which adds to this low unemployment and strong job market and local economy. The next pro I'll share with you, you're probably a lot more familiar with, and that would be the skiing that Utah is known for. So Utah really made its mark in 2002 when we hosted the Winter Olympics. So national coverage, worldwide coverage. If someone didn't know about the skiing here in Utah after that, they most likely did. So Utah has some incredible snow. We're known for the powder here, and there's several resorts. So from Salt Lake City up to Park City, or whether you head up the Cottonwood Canyons to like the Snowbird Resort to Brighton Resorts, you're only about 40 minutes. You have 6 to 7 resorts within 40 minutes from Salt Lake City. So it doesn't get much more convenient as far as enjoying the recreation, the snow season up on the slopes than 40 minutes or less. Now, let's say that you don't live specifically right in Salt Lake City, right? Maybe you live north up in the Ogden area, maybe you're south down in Utah County, closer to Provo. Well, from Provo to the Sundance Resort, you're less than 30 minutes. If you live north up in Ogden, from Ogden to the Snow Basin Ski Resort, you're only about 30 minutes as well. So it's quick, it's convenient. Now, that would be for the snow activities, right? But those resorts and those mountain areas have just as much recreation all summer long. So whether it's hiking or whether it's biking, you can go to those resorts. Many of them offer mountain bike opportunities where you can either bike up the hills, or some of them allow you to take your bike up the lift and then bike down. You can hike the trails up there. There's different lakes, there's different reservoirs. All of that's easy to get to and access, all from Salt Lake City, just a short drive away. The next pro is the education system. Now, according to WalletHub, Utah is ranked number 13 as having the best education systems in America. So that's a pretty impressive ranking. You know, as parents, that's important too. I know personally as a father that my kids and their education is important. You know, that foundation for life. And so good education systems here. That directly reflects over to the SAT scores. Utah is ranked as number 2 in the nation for the highest SAT scores. So good school districts in Utah, good schools, high schools, you can be confident that your kids are getting a good shot with the education system. And that also continues on up through higher education, because Utah is ranked number 11 for being the most educated state. So college and universities, there's several great ones around, including Brigham Young University, University of Utah, Utah State, Westminster College, just lots of opportunities for that. So the only thing with the education system that's probably the biggest flaw is Utah is ranked the worst in the nation for the teacher-to-student ratio. So for every 23 students, there's only 1 teacher. But guess what? Those teachers are doing something right, and it shows with the SAT scores, with the rankings in the school system. So other than that, things are really good from an education standpoint here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now let's talk about the cons of living in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now the truth is, I could have gone on and on about additional pros, because there really are so many great things about Utah. But let's talk about some of the things that you may not like about the Salt Lake City area. So first off would be the weather and the significant change between like winter and summer. So there are extreme differences between the seasons here. We don't live in a mild climate by any means. We do have these drastic temperature swings. Like in the winter, Salt Lake City on average receives around 54 inches of snow. So if you don't like shoveling, if you don't like driving in snow, then this is going to be one of the things about Utah that you may not like. In fact, just this morning, last night it snowed a couple of inches. It stuck to the freeways. As I'm driving to the gym this morning, there were 2 cars that slid off the freeway and onto the side of the road. And that's something that we experience here in Utah with the snow. People driving too fast for the conditions. There's increased accidents, which means increased delays, which means longer commute. So that affects the traffic, that affects the commute times. Anytime there's a storm system that involves snow, it does affect travel here in Utah. So one thing to keep in mind. Now, the month of January is our coldest month, and it can be common in January that we never even break the freezing mark. So our temperatures could be below 32 degrees as a high. But fortunately, we don't have extreme cold, so we typically don't see below 0. So none of these Arctic temperatures, for the most part, those are uncommon to see here in Utah. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, in the summertime, Utah on average experiences 22 days a year with 100-degree plus days. This last year, we had over 30 days of 100-degree plus days. And so you can see there's a big temperature swing. We can have some cold winters, we can have some hot summers, and that's just part of living in Utah, is dealing with the climate here and these temperature swings from winter to summer. The next con that I'd like to discuss is that some people consider Utah and Salt Lake City to be landlocked. And what does that mean? Well, they consider it landlocked in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, and that's simply because we're not close to any major cities. In fact, our closest city that we're located to is Las Vegas, Nevada, and that's about a 5.5-hour drive south. And if you want to go to Denver, Colorado, you're over 7 hours. So although Salt Lake City has many things to offer, we've got the Utah Jazz, the professional NBA team. We have the Real Salt Lake, which is professional soccer. Outside of that, if you want to go to professional sports like an NFL game, a Major League Baseball game, you're going to have to travel outside of Utah. And so that means traveling to other states. And interestingly, I was watching a football game just the other day, and it was the Buffalo Bills playing the Detroit Lions. And just out of curiosity's sake, I'm like, how long would it take to drive from Buffalo to Detroit? And it was just over 4 hours, okay? And interestingly enough, you're passing other major cities on the way there that are even closer. And so for people that are coming from the eastern part of the states, traveling 5.5 hours to the next major city, that's normal for us here. And so just keep that in mind. If you don't find what you want here in Salt Lake and you need to travel to another major metro area, then you're gonna have some travel time. So what's the number one con of living in Salt Lake City? Well, in my opinion, that would be the inversion. And what the inversion is it's bad air, it's cold air that's trapped in the valley floor. And inversion months in Utah are typically December, January, and February. And inversion is simply caused when high pressures move into northern Utah. We have this warmer air up in the atmosphere, and as it descends, it traps this cold air in the valley. And Salt Lake Valley is like a bowl. As much as we love those Wasatch Mountains that are to the east, they provide great recreation, incredible beauty, but they also allow this cold air to be trapped. And just with natural pollutants, exhaust and so forth, all of that gets stuck and is visible. So it's like a smog and a fog that you experience in the wintertime. And the only way to clear out the inversion is through a storm system. So as new storms come in, it pushes out this cold air, and then you've got nice clean air. But unfortunately, we do have to deal with that crappy air in times of high pressure. So from year to year, it does vary with how long those inversions stick around. Sometimes they only stick around for a couple days. Other times they can stick around for a couple weeks. So the best way to to get above the inversion is you got to simply get out of the valley. Most people go up to the mountains. If we're inverted down here, there's crappy air, you go to the mountains, most likely it's going to be blue skies. You're going to see nice mild temperatures up there, and it's just a world of difference. You drive back down that canyon, enter that smog and fog, and just not very pleasant. So now I mentioned earlier, if you stuck around to the end, I would tell you how you can actually live above all of that smog. So if there's respiratory sensitivities, breathing sensitivities, especially with pollutants and stuff like that, an area called Suncrest, which is located in Draper in Salt Lake County and Utah County, it's actually right on the border there. You're actually a couple thousand feet above the valley floor, and you're above this inversion. So you can actually look out your window, and at times of inversion, you're going to see the sun. It's going to be nice blue skies, and you're going to see all that yucky smog down in the valley floor. So it's one option that, especially if you have breathing sensitivities, or you simply just don't want to have to breathe that air when the inversions take place, that's a great option as far as a place to live. And it's located right in Salt Lake County, so you're only about 10 to 14 minutes to drop off that mountain and hit I-15. So whether you got to work up in Salt Lake or work down in Provo, it's pretty much sixes either way from that point. So I hope that you've enjoyed the pros and the cons of living in Salt Lake City. Whether you're thinking about making a move in 9 days or 90 days, give us a call, shoot us a text. The information's in the description below. We'd love to help you make a smooth move to Salt Lake City, Utah.